Well, welcome everyone. I am Terra Newell, survivor of Dirty John Meehan, but now turned into producer and also host of the True Crime Podcasting course. This is just a spin-off of it for survivors, anyone that needs media training, and I'm so excited to have everyone today. Why don't I have Jessie, then Nick, then Roberta intro themselves?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie Buttafuoco. I am a family member of some pretty prolific victims and survivors of crime in the media. And I've had 30 years experience navigating that landscape. I'm currently a PhD student. My research focuses on the psychological impact of true crime media and reality-based programming on like participants and subjects and victims and survivors of crime and their families. So I'm a media psychologist. I'm a licensed therapist that also specializes in helping people who have media trauma, who have been on TV, who have participated in reality programming and are having a hard time with their mental health. So I offer those services too, as well as like trauma training for media professionals, and ethical practices, and just all that stuff. And I apologize for my voice. I play in a women's basketball league and we won the championship game last night. Got a little rowdy, so I'm doing all I can. I have throat spray and I have tea, so hang in there.
Well, congratulations. So I'm Nick Thompson. I was a cast member on Love is Blind season 2, which is hard to believe, but it was just brought to my attention that by my therapist that was 4 years ago. So time flies. But I was a cast member on Love is Blind. And after my experience going through from beginning to end to aftermath to all of that, I started a nonprofit called the UCAN Foundation, which stands for Unscripted Cast Advocacy Network, with the goal of changing the production and practices of reality TV to be more ethical. And to do so, we advocate for change in the industry. We provide mental health services for past, current, and future reality cast members, as well as legal services for them as well, so that they can maybe have some sort of protection for themselves from exploitation that happens in the world of reality TV production, which apparently seems to be happening in all sorts of other areas of entertainment as well, as we are all here for one reason or another relating to that. So I'm happy to be here. I have been through, since it's a small group, and I know we're recording it too, but I kind of had to navigate a lot of the media stuff on my own when I went through my pretty public divorce. And it was some of the hardest times of my life. And I think that, I have maybe some wisdom that I can share there. And completely want to agree with what Tabitha said about letting people tell their story and letting people own their story instead of the media. So I think this is a great conversation. And thank you all for having me here. And then thank you to Tara for putting all this together.
Hey, my name is Roberta Blevins, and I'm the host and producer of the podcast Life After MLM, where we tell stories of, I'm going to say true con. So it's a little different than true crime. It's more people like white collar crime and people getting scammed and harmed. The majority of the stories that we tell are multi-level marketing stories, Mary Kay, Avon, Amway, stuff like that. It's very survivor based and story based. And I was, like Nick, I went through my my trauma very publicly. I was in two different documentaries. One was done by Vice Media, and the other one was on Amazon. It's called Lula Rich, where I was one of the whistleblowers that helped not even take down, because let's be honest, everything just rebrands and comes back as a new form. But take down the iteration of LuLaRoe at that time. And not only do I help talk to survivors, but I also work on the back end, helping with legislation and working with the FTC and other consumer protection organizations to help make this particular industry safer for the people that are in it, because let's be honest, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse. And so we help create safer places to protect consumers and make sure that they don't get scammed as often.
Yes, and I gotta say, Lulu, whatever it's called now, It's very alive and well because I am, you remember we have that mutual connection of the girl that, signed you up basically. And I see her post all the time and I'm like, cold.
It's alive and well. And
Yeah.
there's new, and like in every single one that we help bring light to so that the FTC kind of comes down on them and they change their rules or they end up going bankrupt or shutting down. There's like it's a hydra. So it's like everyone that we help take down, there's like three new ones that pop up in its place. So it is a never-ending story of people coming in and sharing their experiences.
Yeah, so you deal with like a plethora of survivors. And I think that it's really great to have all of you guys here because you guys have had all different experiences. And so I'm just excited to use your knowledge today. And I'm pulling up the panel. So, why is it important to each of you guys to have media training or to be here today to help media train?
I think for me, being a podcast host, but also having friends that have had their story, I think that the media has really created this fast track of get the story, get it out as quickly as possible, make it as entertaining as possible. And I think this shift from reality TV is not reality. And then people shifting into the podcast world, it's everybody wants that story to reflect their sense of entertainment. And when you have a survivor on and a victim, we all have been through something terrible and traumatic. It's not entertainment. And I think there's this huge boundary line that podcasters and anyone in media and entertainment have to understand that it is true life, day in and day out, trauma, PTSD, therapy, and reoccurring in that person's life. It's not a story. It's not entertainment. It's not used for the media. And I think we need to be educated more on what a true victim is and a survivor and how to still handle that with compassion in an effective way that pushes for change. And it changes you in the driver's seat of listening to their story and how you can promote change for that.
Thank you, Tabitha. That was really important. I'm thankful you shared that. Nick or Jesse or Roberta, why is it important for you guys to help survivors or anyone experiencing needing help with the media?
I'll jump in there. It's personal for me. So I was 9 years old when my mom was a victim of attempted murder. And with a couple weeks, that story was blasted everywhere. And it was, I mean, Danny DeVito has played my dad on Saturday Night Live. Drew Barrymore has played my mom's perpetrator. So it got very sensationalized and very big. And I was a child, I was a teenager, I was a young adult, and now I'm a middle-aged woman. And I've dealt with the trauma of that for my entire life through every life stage. And I think I have a very important perspective on the trauma that's related to that at different life stages because it changes. And for me personally, my mental health greatly suffered. This was happening in the 90s and 2000s where mental health was just not a thing and it was highly stigmatized. And I never get the proper help that I needed. And there just was no resources. I didn't know anyone else who went through what I went through. I didn't have social media to even get connected with other people like you, Tara, or like other survivors. Like it was just me and my brother. We're just trying to figure out how to go to high school and how to, participate in life and get a job and go on dating and be a human with this social stigma attached to it, this very public social stigma. And at 35 years old, I couldn't deal with it anymore. And I had a mental breakdown and I was highly addicted to drugs and alcohol and I was succeeding. I was running a business and I was showing up for my life, but I just couldn't pretend anymore. So after that mental breakdown, I was highly suicidal. I was weeks away from probably attempting, if I'm going to be honest, extremely depressed, in a hole of bottles of Pinot Grigio. And I had to enter recovery. I had to enter intensive outpatient treatment. I wound up going back to college and getting a master's degree in clinical psychology. I realized all the trauma that I went through because of this media component. On top of everything else, I mean, thank you, Daddy, but the media part of it was really messed up. And once I kind of realized that, and now I have all these degrees and I'm a PhD student now in media psychology studying what I went through because I need to create that science and that data so people take me seriously when I say people are killing themselves over this stuff and that we need laws to regulate unethical media practices that are occurring daily. And if we need to hold people accountable through legislation, then I'm coming for you. So that's why it's important for me to do what I'm doing, because I almost killed myself over it. And I tried my best not to. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people that are suffering every day, from extreme exploitation to just even going viral in their small little town. The impact is the same. The way we react to it emotionally, mentally is the same. A trauma response is a trauma response. Doesn't matter how we got there, the response is the same. And the response is what people are not equipped to deal with. And so that's why I feel it's important to do what I'm doing in this aspect. And of course, I love hearing Nick and Roberta also like bringing light to this, and Tabitha, you guys too, like, and Tara, obviously, because it's just important, and people don't need to feel alone anymore and need to know that it's not your fault. You do not need to have this guilt and shame wrapped up in how somebody else told your story, and that you are allowed to be you and show up authentically and wholeheartedly and get help if you need it.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you sharing that. Nick or Roberta, would you like to share about why
Sure.
it's important? Perfect.
Yeah. So I'll be blunt and clear. I hate the media. I think that they are narrative pushers. They are liars, and they are not there to report the news. They are not there to tell your story. And I think that translates no matter which way you look at it. My mother found out about my divorce through the media because TMZ reported it before I told her. So to me, that was a real wake-up call in terms of what can happen to you when you're in any kind of public eye. And so in addition to that, I've been smeared by the media. They've completely taken stuff out of context and written all sorts of stuff that wasn't true or lacked the nuance. So I guess maybe it's a little personal for me too. And I think that one of the most important things that I've learned over the last couple of years of doing this work and having, sort of an agenda working against you, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases working against you, because, what's more exciting for people and Entertainment Tonight to have a headline on is the drama happening between reality TV cast members and their wives, husbands, ex-wives, partners, whatever, more so than somebody talking about the exploitation that happens and the labor laws that are being violated and all of that stuff. So I think that from my perspective, this is super important, because what you have to do in order to survive the media is you either have to cave to it and become what they're narrating you as, which can cause a conflict of identity crisis. It can cause many people that I've talked to in the reality TV space, and sometimes even I feel like the documentary space, pressure to be this character, even if it isn't properly representing them. I'm literally seeing people that are my friends in the reality TV space that have just sort of taken that character on in social media because it is how they make money. And maybe they're not able to make money in the same ways they used to because of this character. So the way that the media can spin, withhold information and control the narrative, I think is something that is going to be hard to ever break, but something that we can train people on how to manage it, how to claim as much of their story as they can, and how to be uncancelable, which is something I've just recently started talking about, is let them say what they're going to say, keep being yourself, and find a way to sort of help people find a way to sort of separate themselves as an individual from what they're seen on in TV or on a documentary or represented on a podcast or any other kind of content. So it's important to me that we empower people. And if you can't claim your narrative because the media's just completely run you over, making sure that you can kind of find ways to be at peace with it and stay true to yourself in your real life.
I completely agree with what you're saying. When I started telling my story before the media came around, it was really story-based, experience-based, and the most healing that I ever felt was talking to other survivors and saying, "Oh my God, me too, I'm not crazy. Oh my God, you believe me, you understand, you speak the same language." When the media came in and got wind of what we were doing and were excited to talk to somebody, everybody sort of nominated me, and so I got kind of thrust into it reluctantly, but it was fine. I had a good time with it. When I talked to the media, though, for me, it was very, very important. Aside from the press junket I had to do for the documentary, it was very important that I was portrayed as who I was, and it was education forward. And it was very much like this is happening to lots of people and we need to talk about it and we need to understand what this is because it shouldn't be happening. And, the press junket was all about, tell us about this documentary and tell us about this. And that was the only time I ever felt like inauthentic, was because I didn't get to kind of, I don't want to say control the narrative, but I didn't get to kind of say like, well, I'm not here to talk about that. Like I'm not here to talk about Star Trek quotes. I'm here to talk about this systemic problem. And so with podcasting and being able to talk to other victims and get back into that space that made me feel most comfortable, being able to sit behind the computer and look at somebody and them tell me their story and me say, I believe you. Like, you don't have to give me the rigmarole. I believe you. I was there. I've seen it. I've done it. Was so important to me. And it just, it's what fuels me, and it's what makes me feel really good. And so I think it's important that we shift the narrative, like Nick was saying, and make sure that we own our story and we know who we are going into this and we're not playing a character. Because even in like subsequent documentaries and pieces about not just LuLaRoe, but other multi-level marketing companies, I'm like, why are you talking about like that? Why are you asking them these questions? Like, it doesn't advance anything that we're doing. It just makes us look silly and foolish. And then you see that kind of perpetuated through the comment section as well when it's on social media, where people are like, well, you're dumb, you did this, like you deserve this. And it's infuriating. And so being able to talk to victims and give them a safe space to open up, we learn so many things. And one of those things is that nobody's story is really truly unique. Everyone really kind of has the same hero's journey of like getting in and getting harmed and coming out of it. But it's in those little bit of differences in those stories that we really kind of start to put a lot of these puzzle pieces together.
Yes.
And I just want to comment on one thing Roberta said that I meant to say and I didn't, but the content about the content about the content, and then the comments about the content, it's about the content, it's about the content. We are in such a low level, low frequency, low vibration content world right now that you've got an original piece of content that is based on someone's actual story in the cases of where we're working. And then you've got the people that are commenting, podcasting on it. Then underneath that, you've got another layer of people that are commenting on the commenters that are commenting on the content about a story. And at this point, you're 3-4 degrees removed from the actual narrative. And then because of the nature of a true crime or reality TV or an MLM scam, that you have these sort of relatable elements of reality to them, that people who are just regular people who of course have their own story but may not have one of these stories then feel like they're connected to people and their story, so they believe that their voice should also have commentary on this. So the layers and levels of, and we're not even talking about Reddit yet, the layers of commentary that go into these things and that create these narratives and push these narratives. And they do it through Reddit, they do it through SEO by all of the news stories, and then the AI news stories that are following up on the news stories. And I've seen this, it's happened to me, where it's like you do an exclusive interview and then there's 15, 20 other articles that are just citing the interview that you've done. And at this point, it's just so distant from the original story. And then by the time you add the commentary, it just completely takes the narrative and just muddies the water, and nobody knows what's real anymore.
And I would love to jump on top of that, Nick, and thank you for starting this, Roberta, because when that happens, what Nick was just talking about, this is leaving a digital legacy for people at the center of the story. And they cannot control that. So you lose your sense of agency. It compromises how you show up in the world. It compromises how you participate in society. It compromises your relationships, both interpersonal and intimate. And so even something like that, and that's just one tiny sliver of this whole umbrella of what we're talking about, has such significant impacts for the people at the center of that story that are lifelong. That story came out today, but every time that person Googles their name until the day they die, that's going to follow them. And that's what everyone else is going to also now know about that person, whether they know that person or not. And so this is very powerful stuff we're talking about here. And it's the Wild West, and it is out of control, and no one is being held accountable. And I think that's where conversations like this are really important.
And then on top of the Google, now you have ChatGPT, and that's just pulling everything it can find from you on the internet and then putting some completely maybe true or not true narrative about it. So it's just, there's a continuous amount of content out there that is able to really define who somebody is in the eyes of the public. And it's very damaging. And I mean, I don't know how to fix it, but I think it's something that like people who are in the media for one way or another have to learn to navigate.
Yeah, I've made friends with anyone that's posted stuff about me and then figured out a way. Well, there's some people you can't be friends with, but Roberta knows. Roberta was there when I got canceled. She saw the effects of people coming after you on the internet. Like, I was not well, Roberta. I was not well. But yeah, so I am really appreciative that you guys all mentioned that. And then there's so many other things, but I think what are ways, because you said you can't control it, what are ways that we can control it in a sense? And whoever takes this question, you can make it lengthy.
Well, I wanted to jump in real quick before you got to that. Because I actually just watched a documentary I think everyone should watch. It's called The Social Dilemma. And it's about how social media is practically destroying ourselves. And the way I see is social media is really a biological weapon meant to control everyone. Because if you look at what biological weapons do, it's meant to control people and meant to divide people and to create terror. And that's what social media has done. I think social media has both created a utopia, but also a dystopia at the same time. Um, and like we need more regulations on this. The amount of like eating disorders and body dysmorphia and suicides have like drastically gone up since 2010 or like and even 2005 when like Facebook first hit. And even like in Google, like it depends where like you're searching in the area too. So example, like so if I can put in like keywords climate change, and if I'm in LA, it could be climate change is a hoax. But if I'm in Chicago, it could be like Chicago, it could be like the climate change is destroying the world, like in the key search bar. And so like you think everyone's seeing the same thing, but it's not. Because it's just those two words that I just mentioned, and people are seeing completely different things. And so I think when people don't even know what the truth is anymore, that's when we start getting into like dangerous territory, because if you don't know what the truth is anymore, then there's no really compromising and having a conversation with anyone. It's like this is what I believe, and like this is I don't know what you're putting at, but this is like what I believe, and then also like the way the algorithms work too is like if someone is like a conspiracy theorist, and it's going to be like, oh, well, I think this is going to really like work for this person. And so it's going to push like content that someone might like. And this is like a huge rabbit hole that people go down. And yeah, I think social media, um, people need to be held accountable. Um, and like even like no one really knows how the algorithm works because they keep constantly changing. And the thing is like they're getting better and better and better. Like there's so much data that's on you about social media. Like they know like your personality type, they know like if you're depressed or not. And this is like they have all this data about you, but you have no data about it. And so it's not really even a fair fight. Yeah.
I think in podcasting, so many people ask. I mean, I have somebody that runs a massive, entertainment company in LA down to somebody that's just starting. And I always say there's no rhyme or reason. It's the same as the anonymous have no accountability at the end of the day. And the internet is giving every person the option to stay anonymous, but still kind of chirp and give their opinion on something. And so many people always say, how do you do this? Or how should I do this? Or how do you get more numbers? And I think that comes into the popularity of how do we get bigger? And I always tell people when you're running a podcast, running a business, anything, or you're just being a good human being, the numbers behind what you're doing doesn't matter. We're in this because we have a passion. We're in it because we want to find a change in whatever topic you're discussing. And I always tell people, you protect the privacy and the peace. This is your home. If you have somebody that comes into your home and they don't act accordingly, you will make them leave. So if you're podcasting or you have on a guest, especially, a victim or survivor, I mean, even when Nick came on twice now, I always ask before we record, and even with Terra, is there anything that's off limits? Is there anything that you really want to focus on pushing out there? And I think it's important with the media, you're not the author of somebody's story. That person is in control. And I always tell people, cut the comments. I mean, I had a TikTok account over 5 million that I built in 3 years. And because I gave an opinion on suicide awareness, I was censored. That's what made me start podcasting. And it was something where I cut the comments. I don't allow any comments on any of my social media. If you have something to say, you're going to find a way to not be anonymous by emailing me, by giving me your opinion. Because when you allow comments, people can be anonymous, have no accountability, and they're rewriting that victim's story without their approval. I mean, I have so many people that come on, they're like, well, I'm really nervous. It is a sense of going back and reliving that trauma, but it's also a sense of therapy at the same time. So when you allow comments to come in, you have completely handed over the key to your home. You have no privacy, you have no peace, you have nothing. And a lot of the people that I consult, they're like, wow, like the story tells itself. You don't need the outside community to chime in, because when you do that, it rewrites that survivor story that you have no right to even go into that. And then the internet kind of runs your show for you.
I completely agree with you. That's in my industry, and speaking out against pyramid schemes and scams, they don't like it when you do that. They like to silence you. They like to censor you. And a lot of my colleagues that also talk in this space do YouTube. And one of the reasons that I'm not on YouTube and that I don't keep up with YouTube is because YouTube has a very vicious comment section. And that is how you get taken down. Nobody can come in and shut my stuff down because I'm an independent podcaster. I am not, controlled by anybody else. I get to put out what I want, how I want, and tell the story. And I do editing for story's sake, because when people tell their story, they like to repeat themselves over and over again. So I cut out the extra stuff where I'm like, you said that already. But for the most part, I tell the whole story. And there are sometimes people that leave comments that were like, I didn't like that story. And I will address it in the show notes the next week. And I said, some of you guys reached out to me and said you didn't like that story. That tells me that story wasn't for you. It just isn't. If you don't like that someone's talking about God, then that's fine. You don't have to listen this week. If you don't like that somebody's talking about toxic diet culture, you don't have to listen this week. You don't have to listen. That's the great thing about this. And I agree. When you add comments and you allow people to come in and shift the narrative and pick tiny little things to take you down, or to say, I hated this episode because you mentioned this, and I listened to it, and again, I go, we talked about that for like 24 seconds. For you to be so angry that you opened up your email and you sent me paragraphs over 24 seconds, that's wild. Skip it. Don't listen to it. It's okay. It's okay to create stuff that not everybody is going to like. And it's okay to not allow everybody to comment on it. If you want to talk to me, my inbox is open. My email box is open. My Instagram messages are open. I have all kinds of listeners that reach out and say, hey, I didn't really like that episode. It really wasn't for me. Or I didn't want to do that. Or, oh, I loved that episode. Thank you for talking about that. I would rather have a one-on-one conversation and adjust accordingly, or say, you know what, you're right. We have talked a little bit about that too much. Don't worry. We've got other stuff coming up. Than to open up my comment section and be like, wow, like all of these people. And it fuels more of that, right? It gives people sort of like this comfortableness that not only can they be anonymous, but they can just like talk smack. And then other people are like, I agree. And then you've got this little community where I'm like, what are you guys even doing here? If you don't like this and you don't want to be a part of this, no one's forcing you to be here at all. So I'm a big fan of no comments. And I'm also a big fan of taking a break from social media. When I first started doing this, I was all over social media because I was promoting a documentary and I was promoting my podcast. I'm now in season 5, year 5 of the podcast, and I have taken a huge step back from social media. People will be like, I haven't seen you in forever. I'm like, hey, I'll post stuff on my stories, let you know I'm alive and you can see what I'm doing. We're here, we're there, we're doing fun stuff. But I have a wonderful relationship. I don't need to be on social media. I've got a great kid. I don't need to be on social media. I have a life that I love. I don't need to be on social media pretending my life is awesome when I can just be living my life and being awesome without having to prove it to everybody. So and I'll tell you, I have multiple accounts because I get blocked on a lot of things that I need to look at. So I have other accounts that are specifically to look at MLM things. And the algorithm on my MLM accounts is wildly different than the algorithm on my informed person that knows what's going on in the world accounts that I normally use. It is like night and day. So the algorithm is so, so, so evil. And I completely agree with what you're saying. That's a great documentary that you brought up, David.
Yeah, and something that also wanted to point out was there was like an MIT study done that shown that misinformation spreads 6 times faster than the actual truth. And so, because everyone wants like the juicy story, everyone wants the what just happened, like they just said what, and the things that like make your like the hairs on your back stick up or something. And I think this it makes people one like they feel like they always have to do better, like find the next story, and that like they make that their worth or like the likes their worth, and then they really have they feel empty. And two, it hurts the people that are like you're talking about, like you're talking about someone's life and you don't even know this person.
Are you trying to tell me the Earth's not flat, we're not run by lizard people, and that the birds aren't real?
Birds are definitely not real. I believe that one.
Well, let me tell you, the pigeons that have been hanging out here on my windowsill and looking at me all day, they're lifeless. So I'm just saying.
That's great. Well, let's do a few more questions for each person, and then we'll open it for questions that anyone wants to ask. So Nick, what do you wish people knew before stepping into the public spotlight?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's a couple things that I would like people to know. One is that the key, I believe, and I can say it. I don't always practice it, right? But I think that the media, when you're in the public light, the media is going to run their stories that are going to get the clicks, they're going to get the views, all of that stuff, right? Get the engagement on social media, whatever that is. They're also short attention span. And the moment that there's another headline, it's squirrel and they've forgotten about you. So I think that when you're a public figure of some sort and you are in the eye of the media, know that they're going to run stories and some of them will be fine and others of them won't be. But if you just stay true to yourself and you show up in the world as yourself, unapologetically, uncancelable, then that is going to outrun any and outlast any media narrative that comes out about you. So and from my own experience, like I learned that I just put my head down and I keep doing the work. And it was actually on Tabitha's podcast, I think it was last summer, where I told her, like, I haven't Googled myself in a year. And she's like, well, I Googled you before the show. And I think, you can Google yourself again. Like, it's not all that bad stuff about being, about your divorce. Basically, we'll leave it at that. And so if you stay the course, you stay true to yourself, you don't let it distract you, that will outlast any media narrative because they don't have the long game in mind. And so I would just encourage people, stay true to yourself, don't budge, know your values, stick to your values, have integrity. If you've got a message, you stick to that message if you believe it to be true. And if you find out it's not true, you can own up to it or whatever that is, but just stay true to yourself, have integrity, and you are going to be surprised how that narrative about you actually outlasts whatever media story of the day about you is.
I want to add one more thing to that. It's okay to say no. It's okay for the media to say, I want to talk to you. I want you to come on my show. I want to, and you say that doesn't work for me. And I have an example. So when I was doing Lula Rich, we were doing all these shows, and I was doing NPR, and I did Megyn Kelly, and I did the doctors, and I did all these things. And it was so much. And they always want to hear the same thing. And I was like, there's a whole documentary about my story. You do not need to ask me all these questions. If people want to know more, they can go watch that. Like, let's talk about what's important. And Dr. Phil reached out and wanted me to come on the show. And I don't like that guy. And I didn't want to be on the show. And I said no. Not just because it was on Halloween, like whatever. Not just because it was on Halloween and I had other things to do with my kid because she wanted to go trick-or-treating, but because I didn't want to be on Dr. Phil. I didn't want that to be a part of my legacy. I was like, I already did the doctors. That's Dr. Phil Jason enough. I don't need to do another one of those things. Also because I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with somebody in the media and talked to them for an hour, and what comes out is like 12 minutes of like, I'm like, you didn't even post the good stuff. You posted all the dumb stuff that when you Google my name, you already see. You didn't post the good stuff. Like, I'm like, we talked about really great things. And so you can say no. You can say, I'm good. I don't want to talk about the same stuff with the same people on the same network again. And you go
I
ahead.
said no to Dr. Phil too.
Good job. We're in the
Phil
same team. We're on the same club.
I also will just put in 2 cents. Sometimes if you say no, and this has happened in my case multiple times, they will harass you until you finally say yes. I spent a year saying no to ABC 2020 until they finally broke me down. And then that turned out to be a interesting experience as well. And also I've been threatened. Well, if you don't participate, we're just going to say it anyway. So you might as well put your 2 cents in. And things like that. So that occurs in the true crime space, at least. I don't know about reality programming, but especially if, like, for me, I happen to be the daughter of a victim, a survivor, and also a perpetrator. And so they use that with me a lot. Well, if you want to speak the truth, then you should probably come on, because otherwise we're just going to go off what's on the internet. And we all know that's not real, And so it's like they play these mind games with you as well. And then they don't pay you. So that's a whole nother thing, but we don't have time for that conversation.
Just to add, though, some say they don't pay and then will pay other people. And one of the shows you just mentioned does that. And I've been on like all the shows you just mentioned. So I could say, they didn't pay me.
It's very sticky, and they use outdated journalistic standards because it's a true story that they can't pay you for it because it's news. But if you're fully producing a 2-hour special and hiring actors for reenactments, and the sound guy's getting paid, and the story producer's getting paid, and the post editor's getting paid, and everybody else is getting paid, but the person at the center of the story, that's messed up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, my documentary paid us only in licensing for our pictures and our film and our videos and stuff. And I want to say it was $1,500 or something. It wasn't a ton, but I was like, hey, I'll take it.
You don't get any residuals or anything either, right?
No.
No.
And they make it money. They
about
make it money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you get a nice flight out in economy and a hotel that doesn't even have a Keurig machine.
Oh,
The best thing that I got from it was just like people saying, oh my gosh, this is a story that's happened to me too. I get a lot of people that said, I watched the documentary and was like, oh my God, this is exactly what's happening to me. And then reached out to you, and then they come on the show, and then they end up leaving their company, and then they're speaking out against their company, and now their company is getting heat. So
that's what it's for.
I mean, for me, like
Yeah.
that's the payment, right? I would rather do that and help people and get paid zero and get paid by advertisers on my show than hope for residuals or hope that Dr. Phil's gonna write me a check or something.
And me too, by the way. A lot of people think that when you're on reality TV, you just all of a sudden, I joke, I'm like, yeah, there's not a Netflix Brinks truck that backs up to my house every day and leaves me a pile of cash. And, for a while, I couldn't even find work because of all those wonderful headlines on Google. And so I spent all my 401k, all my savings, just paying my mortgage for almost a year. And so, it kind of changed my perspective, because I've been, like a marketing leader executive in software for, 8 years at this point. And it was like, 5 or 6 at the time. And I just I was shell shocked, because all of a sudden this thing that I did just completely erased everything else that I had done in my career and in my time. And I had made $8,000, $1,000 a week doing Love is Blind. And there was nothing else coming in. And I made the conscious decision not to go chasing, brand deals and sponsorships and stuff like that, because that's just not who I am. If there was something that aligned, sure. And I've done a few things here and there, but I'm not going to go, take money for something I don't believe in. And that's the integrity piece, right? Because I'm the guy from Love is Blind that made his own toothpaste. I don't think people are going to believe that I'm now using Crest toothpaste, right? So like those things don't line up and don't work. And that's where the integrity comes in. But to piggyback on what Roberta says, some people think, oh, you're making money with this nonprofit. Like, all I've done is spend money on the nonprofit. I haven't taken a dime. Same with podcasting. Like, I don't make very much money on it, because I don't sell out and I don't go for the clickbaity stuff and all of that stuff. So I think, again, it comes down to like, why are you doing what you're doing? And Tabitha touched on this earlier. And if it's because it's something you care about and something you're passionate about, that's your payment. And you just find some other way to participate in capitalism.
And it also goes to show like why people hold on to those characters. If they're only making $8,000 for all of that, and it's this
Yes.
lasting trauma, then why not be the drunk, jokey guy
Exactly.
and really portray that and act that way and get into drama in the comments on social media and say catty things so that you're always in the headlines. I mean, I think about like all the Bravo shows where people are like, oh my God, he said what? And I was like, who? Because I don't watch any of that stuff. So I'm like, what is everybody talking about? I don't even know who Tom is. And it's that sort of thing, this portrayal of this character that you have made, and you now have to be forever, because if you stop being that character, there's nothing else for you.
Yeah. And also you're viewed as that character by any other job you want to get, or people you want to get involved with, or places you want to go that are public and people recognize you. They expect it from you.
And also, I want to add on top of that. So, like, in my case, I saw that happen to my parents, right? And their ability to show up in world who they can't. But if you're Joey and Mary Jo Buttafuoco, you're no longer a normal person. But me as their child, who still carries that name, but doesn't have that spotlight, still had to deal with all those effects and impacts too, right? And so when I went on a job interview, that's the first thing I talk about. I still to this day have to talk about my trauma one way or another. If my name comes up, someone asks about it because they heard about it, they know about it, they recognize it. And I just have had to, for a long time, I had to, well, I tried to avoid it through drugs and alcohol and other maladaptive coping mechanisms, but I had to learn how to intertwine those two identities, right? And it's very complicated, because it does infiltrate every aspect of your life. And especially if you are someone who's younger, who are still trying to figure out who you are on this planet, this type of stuff can really mess with up here, and you might wind up in a treatment program or in a therapy chair or in Alcoholics Anonymous or in some sort of group therapy moment, because it's overwhelming. And a normal human being just is not equipped to deal with this kind of stuff, right? We are Neanderthals. We ran in small groups. That's all we were supposed to know. But now we know everything and we have access to everything. And it's too much for our little small human brains to help, deal with. And so it's something I think it's important. And I'm so glad that everyone here is speaking up about it and sharing all their different perspectives. Like, I love that Roberta and Nick and I, and even Tara, like, we're all from kind of different zones, but we all still can have these common through lines here, which is phenomenal. But it also highlights some work needs to be done. Some changes need to be made. And it's not on an individual level. It's systemic. We got to get it at the top. Because I had a conversation with the head of Peacock not too long ago that really went sideways. And I was privy to a conversation with the head of HBO not too long ago that was horrendously exploitative and sensationalism. And guess what I did? I said, no. Guess who's not having a documentary? Me. Because I'm not willing to be sensationalized. I'm not willing to be exploited or anything along those lines. And so, you guys are actually inspiring me. Maybe I will take the producer route on my own and do it myself and get my own podcast going, because it can't be trusted in the hands of the mega companies. It's this, at least true crime entertainment. This isn't even true crime media anymore, and reality TV as well, and reality based programming. It's harming people. So enough is enough.
Yeah. Well, anything you want from
I,
this course to help you.
I was just going to say, I sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll be very quick with this one. I think that we are at a place in society where there are three different kinds of people. There are people who are consuming this type of reality-based content, true crime, reality TV, game, whatever. I think those people that are doing it casually, they don't comment, they don't follow, they don't gossip about it. I think there's the people that are very involved in it, and then there's the people that don't care, or people that don't watch it, right? Or like something else. But what I think we're at as a society is we have to ask ourselves, and it's because of the work that everybody on this call does, whether you have been through the experience or you give people a platform to share their experience. We're at a point now where, as a society, we have to ask ourselves, and we have to ask everyone to look inside and ask, what are you willing to put people through for your entertainment? And putting yourself in their position and wondering how you would feel if you went through a divorce, an affair, traumatic attack, something happening to your family, and then that was put on the global stage, because let's face it, everything's the global stage with the internet. Put that on the global stage. Like, what are we willing to accept for entertainment? What are we willing to accept that happens to people for entertainment without giving them a voice to have a say in their narrative? And I think that's the ultimate question that I know I'm trying to push, is I'm asking people, and I'm saying in media appearances and interviews, what are we willing to accept for our entertainment? And I think that's the question that people should really start reflecting on and getting other people to reflect on.
Yes, now you're giving me a lot to think about, and I've already think about that every day. Yes, and Jessie, if you want to start a podcast, you want to learn how, hit me up. I'll send that shameless plug there. Yes, so I we have 5 minutes left in this panel, and I was going to ask a few more questions to each panelist, but I think that last question, every panelist really felt like they got a say in it, and so I really appreciate that. So why don't I open it up to Tabitha, Gigi, Dr. Gigi, David, if you guys have any questions you guys want to ask the panelists?
I do. I have a question for David, but before I get to that, I want to circle back to what Tabitha was saying about the podcast. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the podcast and everyone's podcast if you have one. Tara, I know you and I will be doing a podcast on my podcast, Walk With Me podcast. I'm really looking forward to our discussion. And also, Jessie, I love what you said about trauma, really having to talk about it. I think it's so important in facing the trauma. I recently came out with a book with friends, a collaborative book. It's called Overcoming Heart Blocks, Inspiring Stories for Healing from Trauma. My own mother came forward about her own heart block as well in that book. I agree with you. It's so important to talk about it and educate others about trauma. And so that takes me to David. My question for you, because you talked a lot about social media. And so here we are now. Do you utilize ChatGPT at all?
Really? Now I like
ChatGPT? No.
the only thing I will do is like if I'm like can't find like make a caption for me to put in the caption, but like I don't use ChatGPT to like make content or like respond to comments. Really rarely would I use ChatGPT to like I'd say maybe like 3 posts. I was like I wanted to share something, but I was like I didn't know when I was in grad school, and two, I um wanted to go to bed. So um
Exactly what my question was, David, as far as utilizing ChatGPT and social media. Where do you believe we're heading as a country with the use of ChatGPT and social media?
it kind of scares me where we're going because some people are using turning it to mental health advice and replacing it for actual therapists. And AI was not meant to be a therapist. AI doesn't have empathy or really awareness into it. Like someone could say like be having a psychosis and typing in ChatGPT, like I really like this person. I think this person's like married to me or whatnot, and it would give you advice. It would be like you should reach out to them. You should, see what they're up to. And it will like feed you. It wouldn't say like no, like that's stalking. Like it wouldn't say that. And so I think it could be dangerous. And I think we need to push more ethics. There's this corporation called, I think it's Ethics for Technology, Humane, something. I could send it to Tara. It was in the Social Dilemma, but it was the person who created, I think, Google. He really iterated that we have a duty in society to make we are being ethical because younger generations are watching and they are mirroring what we are putting out, and they're just going to keep repeating the same cycles.
Got it. Thanks so much, David. I appreciate it. Very, very insightful. Thanks so much.
I rarely use AI for anything. Honestly, what I use AI for the most is like the Google AI, where I'm like, what good restaurants are near me? Or like, what's within 2 hours driving from where I'm at that's fun to do and cheap. Like that's what I use AI for. I think it terrifies me. Like David was saying, I don't think it's ethical. It definitely doesn't have any empathy. I heard that people were using it as therapy, and I thought that's gross and weird and scary. So if you use it as like an overview or things like that, sometimes I'm like, hey, summarize this for me because I need to get through something, or what are questions you would ask a specific kind of person that like I don't really know about. I could see myself using that, but for the most part, I don't really ever run into anything where I feel like I need AI more than just being an empathetic person.
I
I will say I did use ChatGPT in grad school to like get through Bayesian statistics because like that, yeah.
You're not gonna
Lifesaver. I would literally put it in and be like, teach me like I'm 5 years old. And it'd be like, here's doctorate level statistics for a fifth grader. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
also,
I think I have a question for everybody that was on the panel. If you sit and reflect on the worst day in your trauma journey, because it's never over, if you were to write one sentence to yourself now versus the version of you then, what would you say you're most proud of that you overcame on the worst day ever? What would you tell that version of you?
You're more resilient than you know.
Yeah, I would tell my future self it gets better and you're going to get through this and it's hard right now, but it's worth it.
I tell myself that there is hope and that the panic attacks don't have to be what they are. I no longer have those as far as the sexual assault of being triggered by that every time the flashbacks happen. So there is hope for anyone else experiencing that. There is hope, and those can end those panic attacks. Again, there is hope.
I think a big one for me, and I'm just reflecting on all my worst moments because, girl, there's more than one. But I think nobody's perfect. And also, even flowers grow through dirt. That even though you may have come from life or someone puts a damper on your legacy, there's growth from that. You got to grow through it to go. No, you got to go through it to grow through it. That's it.
Yes.
mine might be dark. It ain't over yet, so pull your bootstraps up, girl.
What I told myself back while everything was really bad was, well, you're on your never-ending quest for rock bottom, and there's another layer to get to.
Oh, on top of that, Nick, how do you know when you're at rock bottom? Is when you stop digging. So don't continue to dig. You gotta boom, get out the hole. You got it.
Oh my
I would
God.
say mine would be scars are beautiful and don't let them um, limit you from living your life.
That's beautiful. Well, if
Ooh, and
any,
also a big one for me, ain't nobody taking your picture. It's a little hard when you are an actual public figure, but for so long I was so afraid of everyone looking at me, taking my picture, going to exploit me, going to, get a paparazzi shot, and then it's going to be in the Inquirer. So much so to where I really limited a lot of my life choices.
I love that. I love that. Well, if anyone has any last minute things they want to add for the panel, gorgeous. Well, where can everybody find you guys on social media? Unless, Jessie, you have something you want to add.
No, I mean, I did throw in the chat a little resource sheet of just like psychological safety in media, and like if you're exposed to trauma, how to like recognize it, how to deal with it, and some like coping tools and some resources as well, for support, including UCAN. I put your information on there as well. And like the NAMI and Victim Connect resources at Center. So it's like a nice little one sheet that you can share with people. If you want, they can reach out to me as well. My name is Jessie Buttafuoco. You can find me on that Instagram, spelled Buttafuoco. I also just started a company called Mental Health Media Services. So you can reach out to me there, and I provide one-on-one support for victims and survivors of crime and their family, or anyone that's been a part and experienced media trauma and reality-based programming. I provide media trauma training, trauma-informed training for media professionals, and also aftercare for participants. So, and I'll be working with Nick hopefully soon. I've been manifesting that, putting that first.
I love it.
And I owe you an email response. I know that. So you can find me on Instagram and Thompson 513. You can also search my name. I, like Roberta, do not post that often. A couple of years ago, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, when I was in my worst state. And so I kind of changed my relationship with social media to just kind of be posting when I feel like posting, not posting when I don't feel like posting. I don't feel any pressure about it. And you can catch up with us at the ucanfoundation.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Also you can search us on Instagram. You'll find us as well. I didn't say this earlier, I don't think. I also have a podcast. It's called Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. We talk, I do talk about reality TV on there, but I have had half of the people on this call on that podcast, and I'll probably try and get the other half of you on sometime soon as well. But we just talk about whatever I want to talk about. And so sometimes it's what's top of mind. Sometimes it's something happening in the world. Sometimes it's about culture. A lot of times it's about mental health and awareness, and bringing on experts and pioneers in their field to help people learn more so they can do the work and show up in the world with their eyes wide open. So find me any of those places. Send me a message. I try to read all of my DMs, but I really don't go on social media that much anymore.
You guys can find me on social media. My name is Roberta Blevins. You can just search me up, Google my name, and I'll pop right up. It's really super easy to find me. Pretty responsive in my messages. And my podcast is called Life After MLM. We talk about multi-level marketing, cults, frauds, scams, anything like that. Lots of this year we're doing a big focus on health and wellness and the scammy supplement industry and how they lie to people. And it's been a very eye-opening season. But we've also talked about evangelicalism, white Christian nationalism, pyramid schemes. Obviously, we've talked about toxic diet culture and all kinds of stuff. Scientology, we had a big Scientology season. That was pretty fun. Just lots of things to open your eyes and make you realize that everything is kind of connected, and it's good to be informed. So if that's something that you're interested in, the cult stuff or the scam stuff, you can come find me. And if you want to be on the show because you have a story to share, I love doing that as well. So build the community big.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you,
yeah,
Roberta.
you can find me. I just put it in the chat too, but my main Instagram profile I use is DJ Weeks _. I also have my story attached to that. And then I just joined TikTok, but I'm really on it, to be honest. It's called Healing Dot with David. And if best way to find me would be Instagram.
Sweet. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Follow all the panelists, follow anyone that put their social media in. And I want to thank everyone. If anyone has any questions, panels they want for the next time, please write them in. I would love to have that. But if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment and in support, because we talked about how the comments can be nasty on here. But I'm Terra Newell. Thank you so much for watching.